Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, with this auspicious prayers, I would like to begin my topic for today. As Prabhu told me, we are in the ninth week of our Krishna conscious learning program, or Gorar Sampada, which Prabhu calls very nicely. We call it Bhakti Vriksha. This is called as Bhakti Vriksha because as the Vriksha has different branches, so whoever comes out with the bhakti, they spread their branch. They spread out and they start new preaching. They connect new people who are very very interested in knowing about Krishna, who are interested to realize their soul, they realize their self, and make their life perfect, make their human life perfect. So today Prabhu mentioned me that at least talk about the founder of this program. Who is the founder? So the initial founder is our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who started this 500 years back. But for this modern world, modern society, 20th century people, the founder is His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Abhay Charnarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I believe you must have heard a couple of times or hundred of times Prabhupada's name, but a simple question: do you all know about Srila Prabhupada? Simple yes or no can do, or in the chat we can say. Do you all know about Srila Prabhupada? Who was he? What was his childhood like? What was his struggles like? How he came up with the concept of ISKCON? So many a times, what happens is people hear the name of ISKCON and उनके पैरों तले की जमीन निकल जाती है. ISKCON, like ये कौन? They focus on the word con more. They think it is some kind of con. Like they are cunning people, or they are like going to con you. They are like not Indians. It's an American society. There are so many misconceptions that are running around, and many times people don't know who is the person behind ISKCON. You know, it is very surprising at times when people get to know that it was an Indian who went all over the world and started this International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And that Indian was a very humble person, a very wonderful personality who was born in Kolkata. He was a Bengali, and he was the one who spread this mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna consciousness all over the world. So many times people don't know about him. So Prabhu has allotted a kind of 45-50 minutes, which is not enough actually to talk about Srila Prabhupada's glories. There are about 4 volumes of Srila Prabhupada's Leela Amrit, wonderful Leelas of the Lord. As we have wonderful Leelas of the Lord in Srimad Bhagavatam, similarly we have wonderful Leelas of Srila Prabhupada in his Prabhupada Leela Amrit. So while I may mention few of his Leelas, who have his pastimes, which will really leave you all stunned, it will leave you all surprised, and you may feel a lot of respect for and a lot of honor for this personality. I would still recommend that just don't stay hearing this limit only. Go beyond and read Prabhupada Leela Amrit. It is wonderful. So before I could start my actual topic, I would like to read one verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is actually from Adi Puran. This is the verse which tells us why we should be studying about a wonderful devotee. Why we should know about a devotee, and by knowing about the devotee, we become a devotee actually. By just knowing about pure devotee of the Lord, the pure devotion in our heart can kindle, and we can know the Lord much better, and we can serve the Lord much better in that way. So this verse is from Adi Puran, which was actually quoted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a Leela with King Prataprudra Maharaj, who was from Orissa. And King Prataprudra Maharaj was a very great devotee of Lord Jagannath, and he wanted to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, I don't meet any karmi people, because he's a king, he's a karmi, he has wife, he has children, he has administration work. I only see devotees in my life. I don't want to see any karmi. Okay, so like that he started, and Prataprudra Maharaj was very sad that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not giving me permission. But his minister Ramananda Rai was a very humble servant. He was a very great devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Ramananda Rai then started, speaking the glories of King Prataprudra Maharaj to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, saying that he is a very great devotee of Lord Jagannath. He takes care of all the Jagannath Ratha Yatra festival, and you know something, my Lord, that I am his minister. But just as he got to know that I want to completely surrender unto your lotus feet and serve you full time, he has given me all my salary, all my pension, all together, everything, and just said, go and serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you need more, come and ask me more. So he has relieved me. He's such a great devotee. At that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this verse that, Yame bhakta janha partha, name bhaktascha te jana, mad bhakta naam chaye bhaktas, te me bhakta tama mata. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is quoting this verse from Adi Puran and telling that this was the point which Lord Krishna mentioned to Arjuna, that Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, those who are my direct devotees are actually not my devotees, but those who are the devotees of my servant are factually my devotees. So when we get to know something more about a great devotee like Srila Prabhupada, automatically we will develop a devotion towards Srila Prabhupada. We will develop liking towards his readings, his character, and his learnings, most importantly, his instructions, what they are. Like we love our parents, so we feel like to follow their instructions. So most of the times we get that familiarity, and the familiarity breeds the contact. So we may tend to, but in general we understand that the person whom we love, the person whom we understand better, we want to hear from him more, and we want to follow his instructions more. And following the instructions of a pure devotee is going to purify our life. That is as simple as that. Someone who wants to purify their life, they have to simply follow the instructions of a pure devotee. May it be Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Santa Tukaram, or in our modern days we call it as Srila Prabhupada, who is really a pure devotee. And there is a prediction about him. It is not that we are just talking in the air. There is a prediction in Chaitanya Mangal. There is a book which was written by Lochan Das Thakura about 400-500 years back, before Prabhupada would have arrived. This was Chaitanya Mangal, which is talking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. And in that, Lochan Das Thakur mentions that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that he will spread the holy name all over the world. He will ensure everybody, every nook and corner, people are chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling only within India. So, and at that time, not many people were going abroad, 500, 600 years back, around that period. Nobody was traveling abroad. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knows the future. He is Lord himself. He is Krishna himself. So in that verses, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, and Lochan Das Thakur has noted those verses in Chaitanya Mangal book. It is from Sutra Khanda, text 562 to 565. There is a kind of a bhajan, kind of song which is written, in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, Yadi papi chhadi dharma dure deshe yaye, mora senapati bhakta yaibe tathaye. If some sinful people escape and giving up religious principles go to far off countries, then my Senapati Bhakta will come at that time to give them Krishna consciousness. Senapati, a military field commander, Bhakta, a devotee. Lord Chaitanya will empower his own devotee to spread Krishna consciousness around the world. This is the prediction from Chaitanya Mangalam. There are many other prophecies about Srila Prabhupada, which I may talk one or two in between while we discuss more about his life. Okay. In between, if you have any questions, you may park it, or you put it in the chat window also. So now it's the time is 12:21, and I intend to wrap this session before 1. So if I'm getting too overboard, please Santa Gopeshwar Prabhu, let me know. Remind me that I'm going, because Srila Prabhupada Leelas are so enchanting that I may get carried away, and I don't want to. I want to keep this session actually time bound. So the purpose of this session is to give the glimpse of Srila Prabhupada's life. It is not his entire life, it is just a glimpse of his life, how beautiful his teachings are, and from his every aspect of life we have many things to read and learn. So his initial life is not much documented, but it was all from his conversations. When Prabhupada used to have this intimate conversations with his close devotees when he used to talk about his personal life before sannyas. Then he has mentioned many things, and then the devotees who were very close to him, his secretaries, they documented as part of his biography, and what he has himself told about, to the devotees, that has been documented. And some were from his god brothers who know him from the days when he was Abhay Babu. So today, my intention is to talk about the three learnings from his life. One is the samskaras, second is the sufferings, and in those sufferings, what is the object of his shelter? Who is this object of his shelter? So that taking shelter, whose shelter he took in those suffering stages. So Abhay Babu, or if you know about, we'll start with samskaras first. Okay, so Abhay Charan De or our Srila Prabhupada had very wonderful samskaras from the very beginning of his life. So when we say samskaras, what does come into your mind? What is samskaras? What do we call it samskaras? Is samskaras related to okay? I would like to have a bit interaction in between so that I feel people are there around listening to me. So if anybody would like to talk about what is samskaras.
Samskara is basically a way one should act or guideline how to behave, or
Yeah,
and it
very
should
good,
be
very good.
carried on.
It should be carried on. Anyone else want to talk about samskaras? One more person.
Um, Prabhu, these are deep impressions in mind about certain actions which our elders and other people take, which has to be also followed during similar kind of situations in future. So,
Very true, very true. No, so deep impressions. It is also called as purificatory ceremonies. Like if you have heard about Garbhadhan Samskar, Vidyarambha Samskar. We do those samskaras. It causes deep impressions in our in our subtle consciousness. That creates our character actually. The samskaras creates our character. If we have good samskaras, then the parents, if our parents have given a good samskaras to their children, then as they grow old, parents doesn't have to bother about their child. You know what is happening with my child, what he will do, because if he has good samskaras, he has learned well, his concepts are clear in the life, what he wants to achieve, what he is, and all those things, then definitely he will follow the right path. So both of you have done wonderfully correct answers. So samskaras is something which defines our character, how we want to live, we carry it forward with us, and these are the deep impressions we have. So Prabhupada had wonderful samskaras. So there is so much to learn from how his father actually nurtured him. Very beautiful to learn from Srila Prabhupada's childhood. Obviously, he was a very blessed soul. He is the divine energy of the Lord. He is also known as a Satyavesha Avatar, if you know more about Satyavesha Avatar later. But yes, still, no, the way his father dealt with him and handled him, nurtured him, is very good to know. So I'll quickly go to the birthday of Srila Prabhupada. So he was born in 1896, 17th September 1896 precisely, and that was a time when it was India was ruled by British. So he was born before independence, and it was the next day of Janmashtami, which is also called as Nanda Utsav Day. So Nanda Maharaj was celebrating Nanda Utsav when Krishna was born in the midnight 12 a.m. And in the mid-afternoon on 17th September 1896, we had our dear Srila Prabhupada appearing into this world, taking his advent. He was born to Gaur Mohan De, his father, who was a cloth merchant, and his mother's name was Rajni, who was a simple middle class family. He was a cloth merchant from Vaishya family. They were both merchant family, and both were good devotees, God fearing people, his father and mother. And his father named Srila Prabhupada as Abhay Charan De. Abhay Charan is meaning is someone who has taken the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. He becomes Abhay. He has nothing to fear. So he's Abhay Charan. So he's taken the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. So that was the name given to him by his father, and his uncle used to call him Nandulal because he was born on a Nanda Utsav day. So that was the initial, the naming ceremony part of it. Also, during every Indian family, we know they do immediate horoscope, right? So all of us have our Janma Kundali. So that Janma Kundali was also made from a very good astrologer for Srila Prabhupada. And that astrologer immediately predicted, that was again, at his birth time, that this was the prediction done, that this young boy is going to be a great preacher, great devotee of the Lord, and he will build 108 temples. He will go across the ocean. That was the prediction done by his astrologer, and his father was immediately very happy because his father was a very great Vaishnava and his father wanted his son to be a great devotee always. So immediately, as soon as he get to know that my son is going to be a great devotee, he was very happy. You know, in our cases, when our son or children is born, immediately the mind says, "Kaun banega?" We play immediately, "Kaun banega crorepati? Kaun banega doctor banega, engineer banega, साइंटिस्ट बनेगा, नासा में जाएगा, आईआईटीएम, आईआईटी, सब आईज हम लोग याद में रखते हैं, but we never think about Krishna. We never remember the K part of it, Krishna consciousness part of it. Hardly any one of us have thought that my son will become a devotee or my daughter will become a devotee. Now after coming to Krishna consciousness, we are trying to make them devotees. We are finding it difficult because we ourselves are not great devotees. So we find it difficult to nurture our children as also to be devotees. But these lessons from Srila Prabhupada's early life will tell us. So this astrologer predicted about this, and he was from a Suvarna Malik community, quite wealthy family community. He had a wealthy family history, and although his father was not that wealthy, but good middle class family, and they used to take care of a Radha Govind temple. Their family and the relatives used to take care of a Radha Govind temple in Kolkata. And as baby Abhay and his cousin brothers, sisters, they used to go daily to this Radha Govind temple. And from that time, Abhay used to have a very beautiful, this is again mentioned by Srila Prabhupada to his devotees, disciples, that, from his childhood, whenever he used to go to this temple, he used to take a long darshan. हम लोग का दर्शन 2 मिनट का होता है, भगवान के सामने खड़े नहीं हुए कि हमारा लिस्ट चालू हो जाता है. वी स्टार्ट आवर लिस्ट, aham dehi, dehi dehi, this dehi, that dehi, and we don't even look at the lotus feet of the Lord. Don't even look at the face of the Lord, lotus face of the Lord. We just move quickly. We know I have this feeling in Tirupati also. Jargandi, they move people fast. Don't allow us to take proper darshan also. Sometimes because of the crowd, or sometimes because of our own nature, that मंदिर के अंदर आए, कुछ मांगेंगे, चले जाएंगे. Like we'll quickly ask something and go. We don't bother to take proper darshan. But Prabhupada was telling that he used to take very long time in taking darshan. He used to look at the deities from his very childhood, from his very, very young age, for a long hours, long minutes. He used to look, long period. He used to look at the lordships and take very nice darshan. So this was, like from his birth, he had a wonderful inclination towards Lord Krishna and Radharani. So that was from his birth. He was a devotee. That's the reason. Second, and his father was again a devotee, so his father used to always take him to temple, ensure that they get acquainted to the temple environment and they get acquainted to the devotee, crowd, devotee association. So that was one thing his father ensured. Then one time happened was he was very, very ill. Srila Prabhupada was very, very ill, and they were under British. So the doctor who came was English, I think, and he saw Abhay. We call Srila Prabhupada Abhay now. So he saw Abhay is very, very ill. He has typhoid, lot of fever, and his father and mother, both of them were very concerned how to, recover him. And this doctor said, give him chicken soup. Now Gaur Mohan Dev was like, what? No, I can't give chicken soup and all. We are very Vaishnav. We don't even have egg in our house. What you're talking about, chicken? And he said, तुमको तुम्हारे बच्चे को बचाना है कि नहीं? Don't you want to save your child? Give him chicken soup. And then Gaur Mohan Dev was not agreeing. But then the doctor said, okay, I am a doctor. I know. I will bring the soup from my house and I will feed him. Don't make it in your house. If you follow this kind of rituals, I am not against them. I will bring it from my house just for the recovery purpose. I will feed him. And then he brought the soup and he tried to feed that to Abhay, who was a very small child at that time. And then as soon as he put that into his mouth, Abhay started vomiting. Immediately he started vomiting. and the doctor understood that this boy is not going to drink it. Then Gaur Mohan, they just lifted Abhay and just put him into the lotus feet. In his house he had deities, and every day Gaur Mohan, they used to pray to them, to Radha Krishna deities. So he just put Abhay in front of Radha Krishna and said, if you like, help my son to recover from this, or if you like, you take him away. It is your baby. After all, it is your child. So like that, when he showed that feeling towards Krishna, and Abhay was immediately recovered within few days from that typhoid fever. Now we may sound typhoid is not that great because now we have lot of medicines. But remember, this is before the independence time. This kind of sickness could be very, very fatal at that time. So that was one instance where, because his father used to always tell him about that instance, that is faith driving instance, where Srila Prabhupada's that instance will drive faith for us also, and that was also driving faith for him and for his father, that Krishna is there, and Krishna is always protecting his devotees. So another instance happened when Srila Prabhupada developed the love for chanting, because he was just 4 years old when Calcutta was affected by a COVID-like situation. That time it was plague there, spread all across Kolkata. People were dying because of plague. At that time, there was one Babaji who came out and he made Harinam Sankirtan on the streets of Kolkata for 2-3 weeks continuously, and they used to go through the locality of Srila Prabhupada as well. And miraculously, that plague was gone in another 2-3 weeks. Completely, there were no signs of plague, and Harinam Sankirtan has just revived. And this is what our devotees are also doing all over the world to revive the COVID situation as well. They are chanting everywhere. There are everyday long sessions. Zoom is saying, ISKCON people are, Hare Krishna people are crashing our servers. 3 hours, 4 hours sessions are going around just on Harinam, Hari Katha, and Hari Bhajan. So this is how Prabhupada developed faith in his early age, at the age of 4, from chanting. Then he also learned very great philosophies from his father. His father used to put some, food outside his shop. He had a cloth shop. So because rats used to come and eat the cloth. So his father used to put some food outside, and he used to say, he used to left him. So he asked his father, why you do that? That rats will come and eat. Then few people used to kill the rats. They used to put rat traps. They used to put medicines that can kill the rat. But Gaur Mohan, they did not wanted to kill the rats anytime. He just put the food outside. If they come, they will eat the food. They don't have to go in and eat. But then they used to say 1 or 2 people will eat your little food there. Few will go inside and still eat your cloth. Then his father used to say, what can I do? If Krishna wants to give, how much you can take from with your 2 hands? And if Krishna wants to take away something from you, how much you can save with your 2 little hands? So this is one philosophy which Prabhupada has quoted many times in his lecture also, that devotees should understand that we are so aggressive in achieving so many things, in material things in our life. I will achieve this and then I will see what I have to do further with my life. But it is ultimately in the hands of Krishna what we are getting. With our 2 little hands, how much we can take. If Krishna wants to give, he will give you enormously, abundantly. छप्पर फाड़ के दे सकते भगवान. And if he wants to take away, वो सब कुछ लेके जा सकते. And we can't even protect anything. So he had that philosophy very clear, that if I have to survive my business, I have to depend on Krishna. That was his father's philosophy, and he was imbibed or impressed with those kind of samskaras from his very early childhood. In fact, another thing which he learned from his father was also about bhakti. Prabhupada used to say in some of his lectures that his father's main business was puja part, not of doing merchant, because from morning till afternoon 1 o'clock he used to do puja part in his house. 1 o'clock he used to go into the shop, and he used to go in shop, and 1-2 hours he used to first sleep in the shop. And then again he will work in the shop, and evening he will come back 8-9, and then again he will do some puja part, and then he will sleep. So whole day, very few hours of 5-6 hours he will spend in the shop for work purpose, and whole day he will be busy in doing puja part, reading Bhagavatam and other things. So his father was also a nice devotee, and he learned all those habits of samskaras of bhakti from his father. Then his father was also very loving. That is one thing which we can learn from his father and Srila Prabhupada's childhood pastimes. Like Srila Prabhupada was very very naughty. Srila Prabhupada was very very abhay. He's very very naughty. He was very much in love with kachoris. So one day at 9 p.m. in the night, Prabhupada woke up and said, I want kachoris. I want kachoris. His mother was not ready to cook. His mother was very strict kind of. So she said, no, no, I will not do. But his father got up and his father said, okay, I will do it. His father prepared kachoris for him in the in the late night and offered those to Lord and then gave it to Abhay to nicely, relish those kachoris. And Prabhupada loves kachoris so much. In today's days also when there was Prabhupada appearance day, that is Nanda Utsav day, all ISKCON devotees will make kachoris especially for Prabhupada, to offer him kachoris. He used to love, and even when he was here, when the ISKCON days were there, and if somebody is making kachoris in the kitchen, Prabhupada used to directly go into the kitchen. As soon as the kachoris are first part is offered, he will start taking it directly from the kadai. He used to love kachoris so much. In fact, many family members used to call him Kachori Mukhi, because he used to love kachoris so much. So his father pampered him like anything. His father one time bought him very expensive shoes. 6 rupees shoes. 6 rupees is so much at that time. I remember my grandfather used to have salary of 12 rupees, and it is during that period or before that period, 6 rupees. Out of your 12 rupees, yes, half of the salary you're spending in the shoes. You can understand. That is he used to pamper his son so much. But along with that, his father was also giving him lot of good lessons. So like he wanted Prabhupada to learn Mridanga, he wanted to learn Prabhupada to learn Kartal, and he wanted his son to do Kirtan in the temple. So this way, he gave wonderful samskaras. He ensured, his father ensured that he gives unconditional love to his son. No conditions. But along with that, he gave excellent education to Prabhupada. We'll see that now, how he put him into a very top colleges, one of the top rated colleges he put Prabhupada, so that he have an excellent education, and not just material education, but also spiritual education. He ensured his son, because his mother always wanted Prabhupada to go to London and become a barrister like Mahatma Gandhi. But then Gaur Mohan, they said, no, 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 London is all Maya. If he go there, he will get into intoxication, he will get into illicit sex, he will get into gambling, he may get into all those nonsense things which are dragging someone into Maya, dragging someone away from Krishna. I don't want my son to go away from Krishna. I want him to become a very educated person. I want him to become a very learned, scholarly person, a very good person, and like Kamyab insan, successful man. But I don't want him to still be dragged away from Krishna. That was his intention. So he gave him unconditional love. He gave him excellent education. And along with all that, he also gives him values of life. Samskaras, very basic things, like how much you can say with your two little hands, that kind of philosophy, which stuck to him even after his sannyas. Even in his lecture, he used to talk about those samskaras. So when we are also treating our children, we have to understand that, this kind of affection we have to give to our children, love we have to give to our children. But along with that, we give them proper education, material and spiritual, and we also give them values of life. They understand the importance of things. They understand the importance of bhakti in their life. So those kind of samskaras. So Prabhupada, I will not dwell deeper into all this more. There are many other pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. One small one I will mention is about his Ratha Yatra, his attraction to Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra Mai. From his very childhood, he was very, very attracted to that. And when he was 7-8 years old, he remembered, there are big Ratha Yatras happening, especially in Jagannath Puri, Orissa. So he said, no, I also want a Ratha. I want to do Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai Ratha Yatra. He was 7-8 years old. His father went out to buy a Ratha, a cart for him, but it was very, very expensive. So his father said, no, we will not buy. We'll go home. So while he was going, Prabhupada was very adamant at that time. And he was crying. On the road, he was crying. His father was pushing him. Then the old lady saw that, a boy is crying so much. Then she came to Gaur Mohan and said, why your son is crying so much? So he said, he want a Ratha. Then luckily she had that Ratha kind of, she said, you take this, this can be used as a Ratha. So wooden frame Ratha was there. It had a wheels. and it can be pulled. So Prabhupada was became immediately very happy. He cleaned it very nicely with his hands. He called his friends. He organized the festival. He did it very beautifully, decorated with flowers, put Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maiya on the card, asked the family members and the relatives to cook bhoga for Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maiya, organized it, did kirtan, wonderfully did the procession, and all the family members, all the relatives, all the neighbors in the area were stunned to see the festival, you know, and they all came out, especially the neighbors who were not aware of what is happening around. They came out and came to Gaur and were asking, why you are celebrating without us? Why you are not invited into this festival? And Gaur said, what festival? This is just children playing. No, no, it is not children playing. This is the Jagannath Puri festival. It is at that scale. It was not children's ka guddi guddiya wala khel nahi tha ye. It was at that level. You can imagine just a 7-8 years boy, but did a wonderful procession of Lord Jagannath. And today, all over the world, we see this Ratha Yatra happening is because of his mercy. Right? That was in his childhood time. So Abhay Charande at that time, Abhay Babu, like he was very wonderful. He had very much inclination to his, devotion. So at the age of 16, his mother left this world, and then he was totally dependent on his father, and his father put him into a very good, college. There are two very prestigious colleges in Kolkata. There is one Presidency College and there's one Scottish Church College. And Prabhupada was put into the Scottish Church College. There he had Subhash Chandra Bose as his immediate senior, and he was inspired by that. So at his very young age, Prabhupada having that leadership quality, so he got very much attracted to this kind of leading roles. So at his very young age, he was involved in many things. He was involved in a drama group where they used to do once in a year drama. Then he was involved in the freedom movement also. He used to do some things there. He used to be part of a Sanskrit group. He used to be part of a poetry group where they used to read about all the British poets' poetries. And Prabhupada was very scholar in British, so he was learning English, philosophy, and economics. In the Scottish, these were the main subject of Prabhupada, and he was excellent. He was excellent, and because of this freedom movement thing, he did also one thing. He gave the exam, he got distinction, but he didn't accept the certificate. Freedom fighting certificate. He said, no, I don't want. And he got very attracted to Mahatma Gandhi's learning, because he saw Mahatma Gandhi used to always carry Bhagavad Gita, and Srila Prabhupada being a spiritual person, he thought this is a person who will bring the glories of India back, because Prabhupada was one thing he was not very happy with the British thing was they used to always insult the glorious Vedic culture of India. Prabhupada always knew that India was very glorious, India was very rich, and the way British portrayed India was that before British came in, India was very poor, India was very backward. There were all kind of bad things in India, and only British people are now reviving India. They are polishing India. They are making India, the great India. But then Prabhupada was very against of this philosophy, and that's why he was into the freedom movement also. He wanted to join the freedom movement, and his father immediately understood the intentions of Abhay Babu. So his son was very intelligent. He was kind of a leader to many of his friends. There were many followers of him. His friends used to also say, "Hukum chalao." Like when Prabhupada will come, Prabhupada ka hukum chalega. Prabhupada will say, they will follow. So he was very famous also. His father understood that he has rejected his degree. Now the next step is that he will join somebody, क्रांतिकारी बनेगा. So immediately बच्चे को घर में रखने के लिए what they will do to stop the child from going away. Although his father was okay, but his father didn't wanted him to become because at that time many people तब उनको terrorist भी कहा जाता था, उग्रवादी कहा जाता था. Now we call them martyrs, we call them freedom fighters. But at that time, not many families were, because they used to think that their children should settle down, they should have good life, they should have wife, they should have children, they should make nice life. So immediately his father thought, no, your mother is also not there. I don't want to go you here and there into different things. You better get married. and then he found a very good bride for him. She was very young, 11 years old. At that time, marriages used to happen at a very early age. So Srila Prabhupada said, Abhay at that time said to his father, Father, you have choose a girl for me. It's okay. I'm ready to marry, but I'm not like this girl. There's another girl in our locality. Like he had someone in his mind, because when that girl used to come in the temple and Prabhupada used to play mridanga and all, she used to like the way Prabhupada used to play mridanga and all, and she was attracted to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada knew that. He said, there is another girl. If you want to get me married, marry me with that girl. And his father said, you don't like this girl? Prabhupada said, yes, I don't like this girl. Then she is perfect for you. Why she is perfect then? Because it is good for your future. You remember the astrologer had told that in future you have to do a lot of devotional activities, and your attraction to your family will be a hindrance to that. So better it is that so Prabhupada actually sacrificed, the material love he sacrificed for the spiritual love. And Prabhupada agreed to his father. Actually speaking, Prabhupada could have agreed to his father and also could have married the other girl as well. Because at that time, marrying two ladies was not a what a taboo or any illegal thing. Prabhupada could have married two women also, but still Prabhupada stayed with one wife, the wife chosen by his father, and very faithfully served her, very faithfully took care of her. Immediately in another 4 years, they had first child, and Prabhupada was happy. Prabhupada was engaged in a business at that time, and because he was very smart, Gaur Mohan De's friend, Mr. Bose, who had a pharmaceutical company, in that Prabhupada started as a manager, and Prabhupada did the business very well. He established the business in Kolkata very nicely, and Mr. Bose was very happy. He gave him lot of salary, gave him lot of big position. He told him, you become the head of my North India branch. So Prabhupada was then shifted to Allahabad, and Allahabad he started this spreading the business. In fact, his contacts reach up to Motilal Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru. His contacts were reach up to that because he was a great businessman. So he used to donate for their cause, because Motilal Nehru was also a social worker. They used to collect the money from or donation from the businessmen people, and they used to come to Prabhupada as well to collect donation. So he had lot of super contacts, super money, good family, second child, third child he got. He was getting children, everything. But one day, I missed one part actually in before his now is that part actually. So when before he go to Allahabad, this incident happened. This incident was a very good life-changing incident for Prabhupada. This was his first meeting with his guru, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Okay, so this was in Kolkata only, when he was doing good as a manager, and he had a wife and one child at that time, and he was very famous in his group. So one of his friends said, Abhay Babu, come with us. I want to take you to one sadhu. He's a very great sadhu. I've heard he's giving very eloquent lectures. He's also English speaking. But Prabhupada was not very keen at that time. He said, I know this kind of sadhus. They come and give lot of classes, but afterwards they are doing some abominable activities also, because lot of sannyasis and sadhus used to come to his house, and some were also fraud. So he was not very keen. But then his friend insisted and took him there. So as he went with him to see Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he pushed Prabhupada a lot, and then Prabhupada finally agreed. He went there, and as soon as because of his samskaras, as soon as he saw a saffron clothed sannyasi sitting on a Vyasasana, immediately Prabhupada prostrated. He paid his obeisances, and as he was getting up, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur looked directly into the eyes of Prabhupada and said, you are an educated person, and you know English very well. You should go and preach all over the world in the language they understand, so that they can take up to the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada was like taken aback. I'm seeing you first time, and you're saying you are educated English speaking person. Go out and preach the message of Lord Chaitanya and Bhagavad Gita. And he was like, very stunned. How could he say? Because Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was not also an ordinary person. He was also a ray of Vishnu. We should have another program. Maybe Sante Gopeshwar Prabhu can glorify Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was a 10th child of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and he was directly the ray of Vishnu, which Bhakti Vinod Thakur says. And he was also a wonderful pastimes, there Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur could directly see in Prabhupada's eyes that he is the chosen one. He is the more Senapati Bhakta. Immediately, the first instance, he saw that and he understood. And he directly said this to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, you don't know me, and like you're saying all this. But Prabhupada also was in a debate kind of mood. And he debated for 2 hours with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He said, how can I do and preach about Lord Chaitanya and Bhagavad Gita when my country is dependent on British rule? Only when we have Swaraj, only when we have independence, then we can do this. Your message can be heard, your message can be followed, but not under British rule. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, we cannot wait for India's independence. The message of Krishna consciousness cannot wait for independence of India. This is emergency. So like it was very intense. 2 hours intense discussion between Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Abhay Charan De. That's happening, and one by one Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was flashing away the doubts and the queries and whatever challenges Abhay Charan De was throwing to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was squashing everything logically, factually, giving the evidences and telling that our real independence is independence from this birth, death, and old age. Whatever independence and dependence we are talking about is only of our concoction of this material world. We are really dependent because we are servant of our senses, and not we are not Rishikena Rishikesha. We are not servant of the Rishikesha. We are not servant of the Lord, but we are servant of our senses. So like that, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur clarified his doubts, and Prabhupada was very impressed, very very impressed. Immediately he came down, and his friend asked him, Narendra, his friend's name was also Narendra. He asked him, Abhay Babu, what do you think about this Maharaj, about this Sadhu? And Prabhupada said, he is perfect. Lord Chaitanya's mission is safe in his hand. And then he became sad and said, oof, now it's too late. Prabhupada said to himself and to his friend that, if I would have not married, I would have joined this person full time. Prabhupada was like almost ready in the first meeting to join full time as a brahmachari and to serve Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur full time. And but then he has taken the responsibility. So this is again another example from Srila Prabhupada's life that he didn't did anything whimsically. He was very logical. He took the responsibility of his family. He had his wife who was carrying at that time. Then he got the children, and then he became very famous businessman. He went to Allahabad after that, and that is where in Allahabad some Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasis from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's mutt, they visited Allahabad. They were Bhakti Pradip Tirtha Maharaj and Atulananda Brahmachari. They were in Allahabad, and somehow they came to the shop of or office of Abhay Babu. And as soon as he saw the sannyasis, like Abhay Babu was very happy, and he immediately paid his obeisances. He could recognize them in their saffron. He saw their tilak and their kantimala and their japamala. He understood these are the devotees, Vaishnavas. And then he asked them, how come you are here? And they said, we are collecting donations from the people because we want to establish one Gaudiya center here for Krishna's preaching. And they told they are disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Prabhupada became very happy because he was very much impressed by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and he was carrying that. And it was almost after 4-5 years that he was seeing this Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur disciples. And then he could actually recognize Atulananda Brahmachari also, because he was there when Prabhupada has seen Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur first time, and he told, I remember you, I have seen Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So then he became very enthusiastic and he started helping the devotees there. He gathered fund, and because of Abhay Babu's help, this Gaudiya Vaishnava Center, the temple was started in Allahabad, and it continued very nicely, flourished very nicely. And Prabhupada was an eminent part of that Sangha, that congregation. He used to go attend kirtans, play mridanga there every week, every day. He used to go for programs, Mangal Arati programs, everything he used to attend there. He used to do chanting also very regularly there. He has taken up the philosophy very nicely, and he was very prominent. He was actually better than the many brahmacharis in the temple. So many like Bhakti Rakshit Swami Maharaj, who is his god brother, and a sannyasi who actually gave diksha to sannyas diksha to, under his guidance he took sannyas diksha. Prabhupada, he also mentions about Prabhupada that he was much better than the brahmacharis at that time when he was a grahastha. And then one day Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came in, and before that Prabhupada went for one day Vrindavan Parikrama, and there everybody was gone to see temples, but Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was giving Bhagavatam class, and that class used to be for 5 hours, 6 hours class. Now we are restrained ourselves to 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and I'm seeing my time is running away. But devotees used to attend the Bhagavad Shravan for like 5 hours, 6 hours, and everybody ran away to take darshana in the temples and all. But Srila Prabhupada was sitting and hearing to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has made a note about him. And after that, Vrindavan Yatra, Prabhupada was again busy, he was serving in the temple, and then in Allahabad, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur came, and the Allahabad center devotees especially invited Prabhupada as a very, very prominent person, because also he was a great donor for the temple and as well as a very great devotee. So they invited him and they introduced him to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and told him, he's a very good devotee, he glorified Prabhupada, and everything Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur heard about him. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur only said one thing: I know him. He is a great listener. He is a great hearer. He has good, for Shravana. He's very much eager to hear. This is what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, and he said, I will go give him Diksha, because they were promoting Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur they were promoting him to Abhay Charan Babu to take initiation from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and that was the time when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave initiation to Prabhupada. And in next 4 years after the initiation, Prabhupada met his Guru Maharaj only for 12 times. And every time Prabhupada says, to his disciples that whenever I met my Guru, I never asked him any other question except for how can I serve you? That was the only question he kept asking, because he was clarified. All his doubts were clarified. All his questions were clarified. And after Diksha, the life of Prabhupada changed. Okay. Till now, everything was very good. He was a great grahastha, great businessman, making money. But all of a sudden, he started seeing a drop in his business. So much so that his Allahabad pharmacy, Prayag pharmacy got stopped. And he had to come to Bombay. He was jobless. He took another job in Bombay in 1933. And then 1933 again, he got connected to Bhakti Rakshit Sridhar Swami Maharaj, Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj in Bombay. And he was getting poverty stricken, but somehow he came to Bombay, started new business, started working in some other company. There he was stable. There again he's connected with one Gaudiya Sampradaya Gaudiya temple. There he was serving. Spiritually he was doing good at that time, making great progress, but materially he was getting losses. In the Bombay office which he was working, he was eliminated due to the politics in the office. They put some allegations on him and he was taken out of the job. Then again he was jobless. Then again he went to Kolkata. He started some business there. Again that business hit losses. He started something, few things he started that went into losses, and that way he was again going into lot of issues. But then he met Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But spiritually again he was doing great. Once on the Vyas Puja of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he wrote a very good poetry. That one line he wrote was, absolute essential thou has proved, impersonal calamity thou has removed. Means he said the God is a person and the danger of impersonalization has been removed by you. So he talked this about his Guru Maharaj, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was very happy about that. And he said, this devotee of mine, this disciple of mine knows my heart, and whatever he writes, publish. So he encouraged Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He encouraged Srila Prabhupada to write more and write many things. Okay, so he told to write. So he started writing in Back to Godhead magazines, and Prabhupada was continuing spiritually good, but materially he was going into lot of losses. One time Prabhupada said, that was in Radha Kund with his Guru Maharaj, and he was getting very close to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Many sannyasis and brahmacharis used to be afraid of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, to sit near him, to have close association of him. But whenever Prabhupada used to come, he used to have very close association with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to also love Prabhupada like anything. He used to take care of him like his own son. And one time he saw his Guru Maharaj was very, very concerned, in a deep trouble. And then he asked his Guru Maharaj what happened. And then his Guru Maharaj says, Aag unjalibe, means there is a fire in the mud, and there was a fire of politics. He saw that many of his sannyasi and brahmachari disciples were fighting for name, fame. They're fighting for better rooms, better facilities, and that is not what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted. He built temples not for good facilities for the devotees, but to facilitate preaching, facilitate institutes, to deliver the fallen souls. And he saw that somewhere it is getting affected, and he told Prabhupada that, my dear son, if you get any money, print books and preach. So that was kind of subtle instructions he was keep receiving from his Guru Maharaj. And Abhay Babu then become very prominent in preaching. He started lot of classes, teaching work, started writing lot of books. He started writing commentaries in English for Bhagavad Gita. But then his economical side, his family side, he was facing lot of problems. He was hit by one or the other losses. Family was getting affected. His wife and children were not very happy with the downpouring of, like the graph of his economical growth was going down. Sometime he was a good rich person, now he is becoming a very poor person, and in fact he was getting penniless. He had last 40,000 rupees with him, and he also invested that in one business in Lucknow. That also went flop. That also was gone, and then he was like in deep trouble. So this kind of sufferings, after Diksha he was facing lot of suffering, and then he took shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. In Srimad Bhagavatam he read this verse 10.88.88, where he says, Shri Bhagavan Vacha Yasyaham Anugrahami Harishe Tad Dhanam Sanai Tato Dhanam Tya Jayanti Yasya. One minute. Tato dhanam tyajayanti asya swajanam dukkha dukkhitam. So the verse says, the personality of God had said, if I especially favor, the Lord is saying, if I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth, then the relatives and friends of such poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another. And Prabhupada was experiencing the same thing, So he took shelter of Bhagavatam and he found this verse, and then he went to his Shiksha Guru at that time, Bhakti Rakshit Sridhar Swami Maharaj, and asked him, how do I understand this? Is this my life? Is this verse talking about my life? And Bhakti Rakshit Swami Maharaj said, yes, it is about your own life only, your story only. Lord is throwing his special mercy on you. Surrender completely. Don't do it partly. Do it full time. Take the sannyas. And he was like, no, I can't take sannyas. I have my daughters, I have my sons. I have to take care of them. I have my wife. I have to take care of my family man. And he still tried doing some business. He was getting failed, so much so that his wife became so irritated with him. She went to her parents' house and started staying. But Prabhupada didn't got disturbed with all these things. He continued his preaching work, writing back to God and magazines. And sometimes his wife used to come and go. So he has written a lot of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam commentaries. And he had piled up the books like that. And one day when he came, he saw his wife has come and she's having a tea. And then he saw that all his Bhagavatam notes, Bhagavad Gita notes are not there. Then he asked his wife, where is everything? His children were also grown up a bit at that time. So he said, where is all these books? So she said, I just sold it to Raddiwala. मैंने वो रद्दी वाले को बेच दिया so that I can get some money, I can buy tea. In your house, you are not even keeping tea powder. चाय पत्ती भी नहीं है. And that was the limit, for Prabhupada, and then he understood that I have to take that decision. And before that, one time he had dream of his Guru Maharaj also. In his dream, Guru Maharaj has come. Before that, because after the Guru Maharaj left the body, there was lot of problems in the Gaudiya Matha, which Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has established. But Srila Prabhupada was connected not managerially, administratively, but to spiritual ways. He was serving the temples, different things he was doing as per the instructions of his Guru Maharaj. And one time his Guru Maharaj came in his dream and told him to take sannyas. At that time also he didn't took, but that has happened. Now this incident actually made him feel that I have to make a decision. And then he made a decision to take sannyas. And he left without anything. He went to his Shiksha Guru at that time, Bhakti Rakshit Sridhar Swami Maharaj, and stayed with him for some time. 1 month he was only doing, morning to evening, he was only doing chanting. He didn't even have dhoti and kurta with him, proper dhoti and kurta also. So when he went to his friend and his guide he asked him, can I give me some dhoti kurta also? So he went with nothing actually, he left everything for his family, whatever little he had, and he went and he took sannyas, and he was named Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and he started his work. He started League of Devotees, which was again due to the political, the person who helped him to start League of Devotees disturbed. He helped him to start and then disturbed, and it got discontinued. So like that, all his work. He started that in Jhansi, that got failed. So his spiritual activities were also facing lot of sufferings. So much so that he had saw all his work, so much so that he had to do all his writing by himself, go to the printing press. He used to go to the printing press and does his printing himself, and then he used to, go out and sell also himself. So he was in Delhi because he used to stay. Then he moved to Vrindavan, where in Radha Damodar temple he was staying. And then he used to make this Back to Godhead magazines and go in Delhi. And in the afternoon, deep afternoon, he used to go and sell all those Back to Godhead magazines. And he had lot of tough time. Like even he had no money for giving to the printing press. He had lot of debts with them. They used to always chastise sometimes Prabhupada, why you are doing all this when you don't have money. Then somehow he found some believers, some faithful people who started supporting him, but still he was not in a great condition. But in all that situation, he never got disturbed. He saw many failures. He saw financial failure first, then he saw family failure, then he saw his own institutional failures, his project getting failed, you know, and his preaching work also getting failed. He saw all that. But in any of those situations, somebody would have got depressed, somebody would have got disturbed, and would have thought, is really Krishna there? There was nothing tangible for him to, believe and, make some further steps. Every time something happens, he used to start immediately as a new thing. Immediately start new thing. He used to not get too much disturbed. His only strength in all this was Krishna, his guru, his chanting. He never got disturbed. He never got depressed. He never got bewildered. So he continued his efforts. His entire solution in all these miseries was to remain completely attached and surrender to Krishna. Nothing was stopping him. Whatever calamities may come, he continued. So all his deep samskaras, which were given by his father, he always remembered that philosophy that if Krishna wants to take, what you can save. So he believed that Krishna wants to take away everything, let it be. And if Krishna wants to give, he will give you abundantly. That philosophy, that samskaras stick with him. His guru's instructions stick with him. His guru has given him instruction to preach, so he always wanted to preach to the foreign world, and he thought his god brothers will help, but they didn't showed much help to him. Then he took it on himself. At the age of 70, through a cargo ship, by the help of Morarji family, he traveled in a 39 days journey to Boston, New York. That was not a very fancy or luxurious journey to be. It was not not a cruise ship in which he was going. It was a cargo ship, no place to properly sit, no place to properly sleep, and he had to carry all his food grains because he was a sannyasi. He was having proper food. They were cooking non-veg. Prabhupada was cooking his own food there, and Prabhupada suffered 2 heart attacks in that ship, and still he continued his prayers to Krishna. And in his diaries, Prabhupada mentioned very nicely that when he had suffered 2 heart attacks and he was still recovered, then Prabhupada wrote a poem, very beautiful poem. If you get time, you can read that poem, where he says, Krishna, I don't know why I am going there. It is you who are taking me. Now make me dance to your tune, and I will dance. If you think I have to leave, it is up to you. And like completely surrender to Krishna. His prayers were answered by Krishna. Krishna took him to Boston safely afterwards. The entire sea became calm. There is a interview of the sailor, who was the captain of the ship, who took Prabhupada, in which the captain has mentioned that he has never seen the sea so calm afterwards. After the Prabhupada suffered those 2 heart attacks, after that, the sea became very calm for another few days, and the ship was properly sailed through. Prabhupada reached Boston. Then he had another 1 year of struggle. In every time Prabhupada used to go and stand outside the cargo company, one cargo company, and he used to think, I will ask them when is the next ship to India, and he was thinking he will go back to India because nothing is making progress. But he continued. He had 1 year of suffering, and then Prabhupada was being tested by Krishna brutally, actually, you know. So, but Prabhupada's faith in Krishna never got diminished, never got shattered. His faith was only becoming stronger and stronger in Krishna, and that paid in. Immediately after 1 year, something magical things start happening. Prabhupada was becoming the talk of the town. Prabhupada was loved by many people. There were so many people who were joining the movement. They were becoming very sincere. Prabhupada says that all these sincere souls are sent by Krishna and my Guru to me to preach this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has protected Mora Senapati, those who will go away from this desh, that India, go away in different other deshas, and to them, to preach them, my Senapati Bhakta, my commander in chief will come, and that commander in chief is Srila Prabhupada. And this is how Srila Prabhupada had expressed, and encompassed the entire world. Many people say that Prabhupada has built a home for everybody to live, and it's true. Myself, I have personally experienced this. Whichever country I visit, I see devotees there. I see devotees are always there. I can meet them, I can greet them, I can have association, I can have prasadam there. Many people think, do you eat such a different kind of diet for you people have, no onion, garlic, no this and that. How you will survive in different countries? But in different countries, already the devotees are there. Prabhupada has already built a home there, and we can just go and be part of it. So wherever we are thrown, we don't have to worry. We have to just be cautious. Have, like Prabhupada had the firm faith in Krishna, that whatever may be the condition, I will do my duty of serving you, my dear Lord, and I will continue my service till the end of my life, till the breath of my life. And this is what you can see. Till the last breath of his life, Prabhupada was doing translation. There are videos of Prabhupada when he was almost on the deathbed, and Prabhupada is doing the translation in that condition also. So there are numerous pastimes. I can go on and on and on. I have already gone for some more minutes, 14, 15 minutes more I have taken. I just want to stop here and want to hear from you. How do you feel about this wonderful personality, His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada? Are you feeling connected to Prabhupada? I would like to hear from you. Are you feeling that you want to know more about him? Do you feel like you want to read his work, his instructions, and do you feel like following him? Do you want to become a follower of Srila Prabhupada? This is my question, and with that question, I would like to end my topic and get into more discussion mode. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope I have not bored you people. I am not that savvy like our Santa Gopeshwar Prabhu, making different slides, putting a lot of visuals. I am too wordy. I talk too much. That's my problem. But till the time I'm talking about Krishna and his devotees, it's fine with me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Danda Pranam. Thank you, Prabhu. I
Jai Ho,
totally
Prabhu.
agree. I mean, speaking about different pastimes of Srila Prabhupada in 1 hour is very difficult task. So
I know.
if you have to cover all his pastimes, it would go on for days continuously, for sure. Still, we won't
That's why
cover.
we have Leela Amrit to read.
Yes.
We should all read Leela Amrit.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. So, as you rightly said, Son Prabhupada has set up ISKCON in such a way, single-handedly he has started ISKCON, this movement. And it can be said that the sun never sets on ISKCON. So, any point of time, anywhere, you would see Mangala Aarti would be going on or something.
Going on.
So, ISKCON, the sun never sets in ISKCON, the way it was for British Empire. The sun never sets in British Empire. So, this holds true even for ISKCON. So, rightly said, Prabhu. So, nice, Prabhu, nice sharing. A couple of things I can recollect is, one is when Prabhupada's father told him, when Krishna wants to give, how much can we take with our little two hands? And when he wants to take, how much can we hold back or save with our little two hands? So this really applies to us which was a really nice realization, Prabhu.
True.
And also, as you stress on the point that as we, along with the material education which we have to give to our children, we also have to focus on the correct samskaras which we have to give to our children, because these samskaras are the real thing which will basically mold their life. So right now, as one of the Matai used to keep saying that when we do chapati, when we bake that dough, when it is wet, it is very easy to mold, but when it becomes hard, it becomes very difficult. So the children are in the very early stages of dough. So this is the right time when we can mold it in the correct way, in the correct manner. Going ahead, it may be late, it may be very difficult to mold them because they would have built up the sanskaras on their own, influenced by this material world. So thanks for that input as well, Prabhu. That was nice. And also one thing, what I recollect is being a Vaishnava, being into spirituality, he was also well known for his material. He was also very popular from the material perspective. He was a leader, as you said. Everyone used to ask him, "Ki you command, we will follow you." Unfortunately, in this time, I mean, this was hardly 100 years back, probably even lesser than that. In this time, if we see someone being devoted to Krishna, we turn the person down and don't think that he is qualified to be materially strong, which is wrong. So many of us, including Ford, right, Prabhu? Amrish Prabhu.
Ford,
So,
Amrish Prabhu.
yeah, the owner of Ford, whose initiated is Amrish Prabhu.
Amrish Dasa, yep.
Amrish Dasa Prabhu. So he is the owner of Ford and is a foreign body, but still, in spite of being a devotee, that he is materially very advanced, he is socially very advanced, he is very popular. So these are independent things. It is not that when we take up to spirituality, we kind of bring down our material, we degrade ourselves materially or socially. So
Yeah.
that is a misconception. So thanks, Prabhu, for that. And one important thing, Prabhu, two important things before I recap your points. One is, even if poverty stricken, with all the distress, family problems, Prabhupada took all the difficulties as the mercy of Krishna. And
Yes.
we now see what, because he took everything in mercy of Krishna, we are now basically in a different world altogether. If he would have lamented on his distress, he would have cried about what has wrong happened to him. Probably we wouldn't have been here on Webex talking about spirituality. So his mood of taking everything as the mercy of Krishna was a good learning. And finally, I think what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, Prabhupada, is something that we all should understand, be serious about it. He said this is an emergency. So
Correct.
this was around 50 years back, probably, I do not know. But now, if that was emerged at that time, now maybe it is already late. So we should think about it. We should spend some time thinking about what we are, where we are, what this path is about. Will it really help us? We should take this seriously. And if we understand the questions, if we are able to get answers to our questions, we should take it seriously. If not, we should discuss with other devotees, and probably someone would surely help us with the questions, with the answers. And when this is done, I guess we should act on this at the situation of emergency and get out of the cycle of birth and death. The situation further, as it is mentioned in Bhagavatam and Bhavishya Puran, is very worse. If we talk about it, probably we may skip our lunch. So it is indeed an emergency. So thank you, Prabhu. So while I would wait for someone for the question, there is one question that has come up, Prabhu. While Prabhupada was a child and doctor suggested to feed him chicken soup because that was good for his health. Now many of these medicines or doctors do prescribe that, and some medicines also do have some animal
Fish oil.
yes.
Red.
So how do we deal with such situations wherein there is a condition of health, there is a health condition, but we do not want to end up eating non-vegetarian food or something that is prohibited by our spiritual practice. So in that case, is it okay to take up something temporarily for the health, or is there any other way out?
So I will talk on the grounds of the fact, we know our dear Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Jai Pataka Swami, Swami Guru Maharaj, he has gone through various medical conditions. There was always kind of prescription coming that, you have that, you have this, but Guru Maharaj never had to take all this. There was always an alternative available. Even the hand sanitizers which are used, they are alcohol free in case of our Guru Maharaj, So there is never a need to break our principles. There is always an alternative available. Ayurveda has various answers, to treat. We don't have to, many people say they don't get a protein. We have different vegetables, we have different dals that gives us the protein. The only thing is how much faith we have. If our faith is deterring in Krishna, like, Gaur Mohan, they had a perfect faith in Krishna. So although the doctor was very adamant and ready to pour that chicken soup in his mouth, Gaur Mohan, they said, okay, I will not do it myself. Okay, you are doing it. The child is not at an understanding age. So from their instances, you can see, like when that was not happening, Gaur Mohan, they just put his child in front of Krishna. This is your child. Either you take it or you leave it to him. No, it is your child. It has nothing to do with me. You are just made me an instrument to take care of him. So we don't have to. We don't have to fall into this trap. There many times I have, my wife has vitamin D deficiency. So we also face this issue that that there is something which the omega-3 tablets or some tablets which has fish oil. We don't take that. The doctor prescribed. We didn't buy that. We are using different sort of medicines. Which does not have this element. We have our devotee doctors. That's why Prabhupada has given us a wonderful caring system. We just phone our devotee doctors. There are so many doctor devotees. प्रभु ऐसा हो गया क्या करूं ये दवाई बोला नहीं ये मत ले ये ले immediately they will say that is an alternative available for that. You don't have to eat that which is contained with fish oil. My wife has a very good her family doctor. She has become devotee after connecting with my wife. So she herself told my wife, before I become a devotee I would have told you to eat this, but now when I am a devotee I will tell you not to eat this. She has also taken Diksha from our Guru Maharaj. Her earlier Karmi name was Shraddha Doctor. I forgot her initiated name, but she also said the same thing. That we don't have to take those kind of medicines which contain the non-vegetarian elements in that. We have always the alternatives. Sanatani Sharda Devi Dasi. Her earlier name was Sharda. Sharda Naikare. Now she is Sanatani. So we always have alternatives. So and Prabhupada has given this care system. So the only answer thing is that if you face this problem, visit any devotee doctors. They will guide you well.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. That was a practical response. So we can take up one question. Anyone wants to ask something to Prabhu?
Hello, brother. This is Kalyanya.
Yes,
Something
Kalyan
I
Prabhu.
was writing down this question. Yeah, I was just writing this question. Like same as what Santosh brother has asked you. Like when this incident happened, the Prabhupada's father, he had no choice. But okay, obviously there are different choices in Ayurveda and other things. That's not my question. First of all, my question was like, is it okay to if the child is like let's say I'm a father. And then if the child is not well, is it okay to depend on the faith of Krishna instead of looking for alternatives? Is it like this action should be glorified, or I mean, as a because I'm going to be a devotee now, and I mean, I just want to understand like should I follow this step, or if my child is really ill, I should just wait for Krishna to save her, or should I look for alternative medicine?
So very practical question, Prabhuji, and I would answer in a practical way again. Like if you look at today's situation, also in the COVID-19 situation, devotees are doing all that is. So Krishna has given us intelligence. Okay, we have to use our intelligence for sure. So here, what Prabhupada's father did is only after doing all the possible means what was possible in his hand. Okay, Prabhupada's father never wanted his son to take this chicken soup. Okay, but still Prabhupada's father didn't resist. Like if he wanted to resist, he would have just thrown the doctor away from his house. Doctor said, I will cook in my home and I will bring. So he took all the final resorts that are possible. When you are left with nothing, that is when you still, your faith is all the time there, but when you are left with nothing. So now I will talk about today's situation in COVID-19, what the devotees are doing. The devotees are taking all the possible precautionary measures. But if something has to happen, it will happen. How much you can save with your two little hands if Krishna wants to take it away? Because the ultimate sanctioner is Krishna. The ultimate, the things are not in our hand. We have to understand, Prabhu. All this world, there are so many things happening for which we don't have an answer. Someone may miraculously escape or get saved. Someone without any reference or without any indication may just leave the body. There are happening things with devotees also. It's not that devotees are protected from the material agony. The material agony is always there. That doesn't mean we don't fight, we don't resist, we don't apply our intelligence. Our intelligence, if it is filled with Krishna consciousness, intellectually, we have to act. We have to act, we have to take all our possible measures. We don't just sit in the home and say Krishna is there. In fact, that is the highest level of bhakti, if it is true bhakti, pure bhakti. I may talk an instance from Chaitanya Charitamrita, but it is not to be imitated. Okay? So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a wonderful character of Srivas Thakur. In his home, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to do Sankirtan. And Srivas Thakur used to only do bhakti, only do Krishna consciousness. Nothing else he will do. He will not do anything. And then one day Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, my dear Srivasa, you tell me, you are a grahastha, you have a wife, you have a children, you have a big family to take care of, and you don't go to work. How you make sustain your life? So I just say, pray to Krishna. If he is not giving me, I will put a stone in my neck and I will dip into the well. If he wants me to die, I will die. And when I do, and then like 2-3 days I will wait. If in 2-3 days I don't get, I will die. This is what Srivas Thakur said, and I will see that miraculously it will come. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew that he was talking with complete faith, complete surrender. No contamination of material desire was in his heart. Pure devotee. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, for you, Lakshmi Devi will come and sit in your house because you are a pure devotee of Krishna. Like Lord himself says, because I want to protect you, I want to take care of you. So that is the highest level of bhakti. We can definitely, if the question is, can we completely remain on the faith of Krishna? Yes, we can. But are we at that level? That is the question we have to ask. Am I completely devotee of Lord? Am I completely free from any material desires, any material contamination? Is it only Krishna in my heart? And when I say that, many people will understand that only love Krishna and love nobody. No, when you're loving Krishna, you're loving everybody that is connected with Krishna. So he is a pure devotee. That is the Uttama Adhikari level, the highest level. But we know we are not at that level. We are conditioned souls. So we have to do the things practically which is possible. We can't go to that level. We can't imitate that level. So even today we have Uttama Adhikari devotees, but they are instructing us. Even Prabhupada used to instruct, take health first. If you look at Prabhupada's instructions, that is one biggest instruction he has given to his disciples was, health is first, chanting is next. Reading Srimad Bhagavatam and preaching is next. He didn't put chanting is first, and he didn't put, although he is a Uttama Adhikari Bhakta, he always remained on the shelter of Srila Prabhupada, Krishna and Guru. But he, while mentioning it to his disciples, he said, health is first. So take care of your health. He said, you are my disciples, I am seeing you are not eating well. You go out on a Sankirtan for 14 hours, 15 hours, and you don't have any food in between. You should carry prasadam with you. You don't have to eat anywhere outside. You carry fruits with you. Have fruits in between. I want you to take care of your health first. In the kitchen of Prabhupada, it was written, health is first. What you are cooking, it is proper, it is pure, Like that, Prabhupada was also a very practical person, and he has given instructions for people like us to follow in a very practical way. So we don't have to get fanatic about anything, because being religious and being fanatic is a different thing, When we are pure devotees, yes, we can do something like Srivas Thakur, but not now. Now we are at a very lower stage, at a very younger stage. We follow our acharyas, their instructions. What is their instruction? Their instruction is health first. Take care of your health first. take all the proper measures required. And only thing is like we have to understand there are alternatives available. So the connected with the previous question, if there are someone who is giving you medicine which is dipped with fish oil and all that, you not necessarily have to take that. You have alternatives available. Check, do that full thorough. There is one instruction from Prabhupada also when devotees went to China and Korea for preaching. The devotees were very frustrated. They said, Prabhupada, I want to come back. I don't have anything to eat. Also, I don't get anything. Only non-veg is being eaten here. How will I survive? And Prabhupada returned back. You eat non-veg, but do preaching. Because Prabhupada didn't want it, because he knew because of my samskaras to them, they will not eat non-veg. Because they are loving me, they will not eat non-veg. But Prabhupada gave to that extent. If you are dying, you are allowed to eat non-veg also. Because you have to protect your body, because your body you are going to use for the work for Krishna. Yajnarthat karmano. That is a verse in Bhagavad Gita. Yajnarthat karmano. Means yajna is Krishna. All Krishna is the yajna purusha. So whatever work we do it for the purpose of serving Krishna. And if this body needs maintenance, and if you need to do preaching work, and if you need to eat something, but it is only like the last resort to survive, then you are allowed to eat. That is what, only in that circumstance, but not always. So Prabhupada has given that instruction also. But those devotees, they were loving Prabhupada, they didn't broke their principles. They understood what Prabhupada is saying, that don't run away from the battlefield, like how Arjuna was told not to run away from the battlefield. They stick there, they started eating raw vegetables, cooking the raw vegetables. They gave up their desire for tasty food, and they continued eating the raw vegetables, raw fruits and raw grains, like that, little bit boiling and eating without taste. And they continued, and today you see there are centers in China, there are centers in Korea, devotees are there in their place also. So this is what Prabhupada's mercy is there, Prabhuji. Hope I answered your question to your satisfaction.
Thank you, brother. It was wonderful explanation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thanks, Nitai Prabhu. So I guess we'll have a small quiz. So kindly, it will be good if you can arrange for one more mobile from where you can answer it. So before that, while you arrange for a mobile, I have one more question which has come up, which probably we can take it as last question. Nitai Prabhu, is it okay with you?
Yes, Prabhuji, it is fine with me.
So question has been asked by Rohit Prabhu. He is saying, if Prabhupada's destiny was to serve Krishna, then why it took too long and external incidents which happened as part of his, like wife selling his books to and so on, to awaken his inner soul that time, and then he came to surrender. So his question is, if a pure soul like Prabhupada took so long, then what about the normal souls?
Very interesting question actually. I was expecting this kind of a question to come because Prabhupada is a predicted. There is a prediction about Prabhupada that he is a more Sonapati Bhakta. He is a Satyavesh avatar, actually empowered by the Lord himself to come and preach. Then why it took so many years? So an external answer to this, what Prabhupada has given himself is, he said it was 40 years of preparation. Okay, so when he was in his Grahastha life, he was doing his bhakti, he was continuing, and then after 70 age, he started, the preaching movement after 70. And then when he got famous in the interviews, they were asking, why you started after 70? Why you not started in your 40s or your 30s, all that? And Prabhupada said, I was preparing myself. Okay, I was preparing for being perfect for all of you. So he was saying that I was not perfect, although he's perfect soul. But he was trying to say that is an external answer, and internally, like you see, it is the Lord's desire, to design the pastime of a devotee such way. If he could have done it like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, like who started at a very young age, established 64 Gaudiya Mathas, that is also a thing, like because Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also a ray of Vishnu. He did it at his very young age, but in case of Prabhupada, it happened at a very older age. So internally, it is a design of the desire of the Lord, how he designs the pastime of his devotees. There should be always, because Lord loves to interact with his devotees. There are so many intimate things that we get to learn and understand from Prabhupada's life. we would not been glorifying it so much if it would have not been, with all these troubles and tremors in his life, so many fall down, so many issues coming into his life, affecting him throughout struggle, whatever he has gone through. It shows us that how he survived all that. And that was also required. If you look at that also, that this is required for all of us. If you study Prabhupada's life, you will find it is so much now near to me, because those who have now got into spiritually little sincere, they will think, yaar, maine shaadi kyun kiya, like even if I would have married, I would have married to a devotee girl actually, now my wife is not supporting. We may think like Prabhupada, when he was very young at that time, so all the incidents he go through, all the struggles he goes through, we see somewhere we are related to that. Another thing I would say is Prabhupada's journey, through his past childhood till now, till he went and established ISKCON, is made glorious because of all the struggles he went through, all the learnings he has went through, and also it is a lesson to all of us that even if you are a devotee, even if you are a Satyavish avatar, you have to go through all these troubles. It is Krishna's plan. Like sometimes we think, people come to devotion sometimes just thinking that after surrendering to Krishna or after chanting Hare Krishna, my all troubles will go. It's not like that. Troubles will always be there, and it may happen to anybody. So it is like very intricate. It is my understanding of Prabhupada's life. I like your question very much. I hope I answered it to your satisfaction.